Hi guys, it's Frank with Tiny Plastic Spaceman here, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made my base for the Warlord Titan. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to check them down below. Okay, so what we've got here obviously is the completed leg and foot and hip assembly. Now, what I was going for with this one is when making the base, I was first of all trying to figure out what sort of shape to use. Now, obviously, I was going to use some sort of oval, which I think I've mentioned in the previous videos. And the main shape I was thinking of was something along like the lines of this, which is the classic, I think is like Turvagon, giant, monstrous creature sort of base shape, sort of the egg-shaped oval, the classic oval base that Citadel and Games Workshop have been using for eons. And you can see this is a flying base. And so there's also this one, which is not really my first choice, but I think just because of the shape of the way the legs are placed, basically, I think this was going to have to be the choice I went for. So let me just reposition the camera real quick so I can show you how I came about making an oval base. Very easy. Okay, so like I said, we kind of ended up going with this shape, and obviously talking with the with my buddy who I'm making the Titan for. So we're going to get rid of that one, and so this is the shape that we're going for. And obviously he's got a bunch of the Imperial Knights that I painted for him previously, and he's going to be getting a few, well, at least one or more of the Cerastus Knights, and they all come on the same shape base, the same exact base as that. So with that in mind, what we're going to do is basically I'm going to show you how to make an oval without having to get an oval jig or anything like that. It's actually quite easy. And I know there's the classic classroom method of doing it with 2 nails and a piece of string, and you trace inside the string and that sort of thing, but I wasn't going for that. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to fold a sheet of paper into in half. Okay, very easy. Very, very easy. And then once we've got that folded in half, we're going to fold it in half again. See how easy this is? It's super, super easy. And now, when we've got these as square as possible, so that all the corners come together like that, we're just going to draw an oval shape in the same rough sort of dimension. And actually, you can kind of, if I just place this here, you can sort of get an idea of the shape that we're going for. So that is roughly what we're going for. Okay, so it's going to be, and remember, we're not going absolutely parallel to the edges. We're going to come on like that, and here we're going to come in pretty quickly there. Okay, so you kind of get where I'm going here, hopefully. Let me just put this on the table so I can actually draw it properly. Okay, so right, so we've kind of just expanded the actual shape that we're going for, and we've just expanded out to the edges here. All right, so this is now we got more arts and crafts stuff going. A pair of scissors, and holding this close to the edge where you're going to cut it without actually trimming the ends of your fingers off. And there we go. Okay, now, boom. See? See how easy that is? And it's pretty close to the shape, just basically a larger version of this official Citadel base, right? Okay, so that is roughly how I got this, which is the actual base template that I used for the base here. Okay, so if we place it there, you can see, I think all the lines are, yeah, the lines are on this side. So you can get a better idea of how the feet fit around on the base. And now remember, there's not going to be anything here. There's not going to be any buildings or rhinos or anything like that it's stepping on. It's just going to be sitting on a flat base, and I'm going to put some rocks and some debris around it, but it's basically just going to be sitting there. So this is a good way to gauge, and of course it's paper, so you're not using up any MDF, you're not using up anything expensive like foam board or anything like that. You get the shape with your paper, because it's nice and cheap, and I use, this is basically I'm in the UK, so this is A3 paper is what I use, but you can get, just like a big sheet of paper, butcher paper, or even wallpaper, or whatever you have handy, and you can even tape sheets of notebook paper together and just do the same exact thing, right? Okay, so next thing, once I was happy with the shape and the size and the placement and how much area there's going to be around the base, around the feet, because remember, there's going to be lots of weight on top of this thing, and I wanted to make sure that there's plenty of stability, right? So next thing was to decide on the material. Now, basically, because I didn't want to go buying anything special for this, I was thinking, well, I've got 6mm MDF, I've got Foamex, I've got foam board, but even better is some 15mm thick plywood that I've got laying around, and this is really thick stuff. 15mm is about, it's over ½ an inch thick, so it's yeah, it's definitely, pretty sure it's over ½ an inch thick, because 25mm is 1 inch. So yeah, it's over ½ an inch. Call it about maybe 5/8 inch thick plywood. So yeah, so that's what I came up with. And so now we're going to go into basically showing you how I cut the base. And I did use or borrow some tools, power tools, just to make the whole job easier. There's no sense trying to, go halfway with this thing. So I did borrow a circle saw and a jigsaw to take care of all this. So I had the 15mm plywood left over from another project that I did a while back. So it's always good to keep scrap wood around if you have the space for it. So yeah, just cut it to shape, and then traced around the paper template, and then basically just attacked it with the jigsaw. And obviously I'm speeding up the whole process here. You might be able to notice that the light is dimming, but yeah, that's basically the entire process. Very quickly done. So hopefully that made some sense for you. So once I had the base, we end up with, if I can just make some space here, we end up with this beast. Yeah, so there we go. This particular piece of plywood has a nice finished edge, or finished side. Is it? Which side? I think it's, I don't know, I think it's got finished on both sides, like a nice finish. And then it's, as you can see, it's quite thick. So ideally, what you would do is have a router and an oval jig. That's the ideal thing, and I found this out afterwards because I am not a woodworker or a carpenter or joiner or anything like that. But with an oval jig, basically you just have a big bit, and I think you probably end up drilling a hole or two, maybe two holes, and you basically just, well, if you know what you're doing, you don't have to play around with it, but I would probably end up playing around and just until I get the right shape, and you would have a nice beveled edge automatically. Now you can see that I've got a straight up and down edge, which I'm okay with. I would prefer it to be a bit of a bevel so I can match the Games Workshop bases. I think it's about a 70 mil angle. You know, if you just look at the edge of a base, kind of like this old square one, something like that is what I want. But you know, my buddy, he's happy with the straight up and down. I am going to see if I can maybe hand bevel it, but then that will take quite a long time. So anyway, now we've got the legs, and there we are. That's how it is going to fit on the base. And the nice thing is, this is a solid piece of wood. It's not really super heavy for transport. It's nice and solid. It's wide enough, and we're all really confident that it will hold. Once we have the body in place and all the weapons on, we're very confident that this will be totally stable enough to handle everything. So what I'm going to do now is basically just mark where the toes are going, and going to try to get everything marked so that I can drill the middle of the foot section, so that I can basically just drill up from the bottom of the base into the middle of the foot, and that will be something that will hold the model itself to the base. Okay, actually, is that centered enough? See that? So it's facing forward that way. Always handy to make notes. Okay, so is that, you know what, I am going to tweak it just a bit and move it over just a little bit and make sure that I'm happy with the distance. So this distance here is what I'm looking at and comparing it to that distance there, just by eyeball. I've got this old, is that a 20 mil base? That's maybe just a tiny bit back. So maybe I shouldn't have marked it, but it's okay. That's what marking is for. It's all temporary. Okay, so just remarking things. I'm told this is what craftsmen do all the time. Okay, right, so happy with that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is basically just use a ruler to find the middle of the feet. Okay, so we've got the ruler, and basically we're just going from the edges of the toes where the outermost bits of the toes, and we're just going diagonal, just like you'd find the center of a square or a rectangle. We don't have to be super exact here, which is a good thing. And now just going to eyeball it and make sure that we're somewhere in the middle, where that because you can see how thick that that lower leg piece is. Even if I'm off by a few millimeters or 1/8 of an inch or whatever, it's not going to matter a huge amount, because I'm just going to drill straight up with about 1.5 inches, maybe a 2-inch long screw, and just go straight up into that. Okay, so let's go get the drill and proceed. Okay, so we've got the drill and we've got the drill bit, and we found some screws. These are 8 by 8 by 1.5 inch. Now I know I live in the UK and I know it's meant to be metric and all that, but yeah, this, you can still find inch measured screws and all that stuff. Obviously got a drill, a driver bit for the drill, and so what I'm going to do, basically drill a hole into the middle, and then once I'm through, I'm going to drill a countersink underneath, because these are 1.5 inch, which is plenty deep enough to get through that depth, but I want to be able to go up into that lower leg piece deep enough to get some depth. So just going to countersink it just a little bit, even though these are flathead. I'm going to countersink it maybe just a few millimeters. So also I need to just make sure that the length is, or the direction of the screw travel is going to be okay. So drilling. Yeah, you notice it's not perfectly flat. I don't have a drill press, and this isn't really where I normally drill, so yeah. So now I'm going to swap out the drill bit so I can just enlarge the bottom here and just make it so I have a bit of a countersink. So probably going to use a 6mm to do that. Just a few mils in. Okay, and that's so the screw heads, obviously I don't want them to get stuck on any of the table terrain or battle mats or anything like that we're going to be using. So now I'm going to put the head in. I'm just going to drill these up just a bit, just deep enough so that they come out and I can verify where they are going to contact and if I need to change the direction of the screws at all. So that's plenty and long enough so I can see where it's going to be contacting the model. Okay, and again that's deep enough as well. Probably didn't need to do both at the same time, but that's what I've done. Okay, so now I'm just going to put the front of the toes in place and then just see where these are actually touching on the model, going up through the middle, up through the middle. Okay, that's fine. So now I'm actually going to press down just a bit so that they score the plastic on the bottom of the foot. And let's see what that looks like. There's a tiny little mark there, and a tiny little mark there. I don't know if you can see it in the light, but that is enough for me to be happy with a basically marking where those holes are going to be. Okay, now so we're going to swap. So, okay, so we swapped the drill bits, and we're just going to go through that hole as straight as we can up into the lower leg. Okay, so I felt it sort of thunk into the bottom of the lower leg. And I've gone to that bit of wood that's left in the drill bit there, and I'm just going to get an identical screw, one of the 1.5 inch ones. So accounting for about 15 mil, actually a little bit less. We need to go a bit deeper. I'm going to go to the end of the screw thread. Sorry if I didn't catch that, but basically we've got about maybe 8 mil of thread depth already in the base. Okay, because remember I countersunk it, so that means the drill bit at the moment goes about that far. So I need to go that much further to make sure that the screw can go all the way up into the leg. So basically I'm going to go all the way to the end of the drill bit, the curly bit, whatever it's called. I don't know. I'm not a machinist. Okay. So we're just getting the debris out of the drill bit. And there we are. So that should be more than deep enough. So now I'm going to get the other one. And again, as straight as I can. And that thunk, or where you saw it like sort of crunch in, that is going into the lower leg. It's through the bottom of the foot plate. Okay, so now we get the drill bit out and we put the driver bit back in. Okay, so now we just find the hole, and that seems to have found both holes there. So now is where we're testing the glue, isn't it? Now we're drilling up into the bottom of the leg. All right, that's deep enough. That's pretty good, I must say. Yeah, I prefer that over glue, for sure. Okay, so there you have it. There's your base done. Oh, it's actually upside down. Didn't mean to do that, but hey, shows you how strong it is, doesn't it? If you have any questions or comments about how I made the base at all, just be sure to ask down below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Check out the website at tinyplasticspaceman.com. Join us on the Facebook page at Tiny Plastic Spaceman, just search for it, and at TPS Painting Studio on Instagram. So, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.